Oh, thank you. I was not allowed to unmute myself, so I was finally able to do that. Thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome again to the largest education festival in the world, the 37 days of live event student university webinar season 4. Get connected. So it's wonderful. Today is 21st day of the celebration. So 21 days and 16 more days to go. As we are getting basically closer and closer, a lot of things have been disclosed, and you have a lot of information now regarding how you can do your study abroad process and apply for study abroad. In case you want to basically reach out to us, then you have the volunteers in the group who can help to schedule Zoom one-on-one appointment with me. And if you are new, if you are there for the first time, then fill the Google form and join the WhatsApp group. So this will help you to basically some of our team member would connect with you and schedule a Zoom one-on-one appointment. So with this, basically, I hope you can see the screen. Can you comment whether you can see the screen? Yes, Mustafa. Thanks, Mustafa. So we start our day 21st today now. Okay. First, about Education Abroad Counseling Center, EACC. It started in February 2000. Our vision is to educate the youth by providing them with study abroad career options worldwide. Our mission is to help 10 lakh high school and graduate students achieve career growth using pre-application technology. We have counseled more than 13,500 students till date, and we are known because we are one of those few study abroad counseling centers which can provide counseling for all major countries, all levels, starting from 7th grade to doctorate and all major programs. We are a research-based counseling center, so we provide guaranteed admission or we refund your total counseling fee. That's about Education Abroad Counseling Center. Now, for the today's topic, pre-application process, its benefits, and importance of application deadlines. Wow. So first, basically, let's understand that in these 21 days, we have come a lot closer to understanding the study abroad process. We first started with the first session was on why education, and then we discussed about things other than that, and then when we discussed about study abroad, we talked about how to select the country, how to select the program, and what parameters are important when you have to look at university. We discussed yesterday that basically most of the study abroad experts suggest that you keep three baskets. One is ambitious. So you take three universities, 2 to 3 universities from the ambitious. Ambitious are those which are difficult to get admissions comparatively. Second is these neutral ones, which is basically where you can apply 3 or 4 universities which has reasonably good chance of you getting admissions. And the third is basically the safe option, whereby you apply again 2 or 3 so that you have better chance of getting admission. And so in this way, the expert proposed that you will get 1 or 2 admit, and if you can get into the ambitious, then nothing like it. Otherwise, you have the other options back in terms of neutral and safe, and you will be able to get 1 admission. So this is the counseling process followed by many of them. However, this is not a foolproof counseling method, because I have seen in my 21 years that there are many students who have not got admissions to this method, because this method is based on basically you applying onto certain categories and believing that the safe option will not will give you guaranteed admissions. So this option is more dependent on the safe option. But what if basically university, it happens, I have done many times the university cancels the program at the last moment because they don't get sufficient seats. Cases like pandemic, suddenly the university is not ready to basically offer that particular intake itself. Okay, so there are cases when basically when you are applying, you probably for that particular intake the university got a better profile and you did not get admission in those universities. So it's not a foolproof sort of thing. there are cases when students have not got admission, and which leads to most important is they lose a year, and the cost and the time is the second and the third factor. So what is that what we can do? So we don't follow the three basket method. We follow pre-application method. Now, pre-application method is different from the method that I just told you. So let's understand what is pre-application method. Okay. Now, to understand this, you have to understand that in abroad, each university is independent. So being independent, every university has a right to decide what program they are going to offer, what is the pricing of the program, policy, admission requirements, etc. So let's suppose if two universities are offering MBA in finance, the course content could be different. The pricing is different. The policy is different. The admission requirements are different. Okay. So these universities are large. They are huge. They offer bachelor's, master's, MBA, doctorate, postdoctorate, thousands of specialization, research facility, on-campus accommodation. They have all sort of things available on campus. Okay. So they are divided into department. They occupy thousands of acres of land. So once they are divided to department, every department has, let's say, 2 or 3 professors who are called admission committee. They look after the admission process. So let's suppose if I want to apply in MBA in finance, there would be a management department where there will be 2 or 3 professors. So we email the student's profile. The student profile is the name, date of birth, education qualification year-wise, academic achievement, work experience, standardized test scores, any other activities, and ask the admission committee what is the chance of getting admission. So the admission committee will look at the admission profile, the student's profile, compare it with student they accepted last year. If last year is a pandemic year, it will be compared to the non-pandemic year, and then they will let us know whether admission is possible or not. Now the question is, why will the admission committee do so? First of all, the university, if I'm talking about MBA in finance, the student to faculty ratio could be, let's say, 15:1, 16:1, 17:1. Let's take 18:1. Now, of that 18:1, the international students acceptance rate could be 50%, maybe 55, 60%, 65%. Let's take the maximum. 15 students are international. So if there are 15 students that are international students, then basically, will all the 15 students be Indian? No. They will only accept one Indian students. So if they are going to accept one Indian students, pre-application profile will help you to know what is your chance of getting admission in that particular university. So pre-application profile will help you to understand what is your chance of getting admission in that particular university. That's important. Why is the admission committee doing that? Because the admission committee gets thousands of applications, and from India and China, they get maximum number of applications. So by doing pre-application, they can avoid unnecessary applications and they can attract good applications. So once, it's not that all universities do pre-application, but whichever universities are ready to do pre-application, do the pre-application method. For those universities that are not ready to offer pre-application, look at the class profile of students that they have accepted, and then basically decide whether your profile is matching to that requirement. But the pre-application process is the best method, basically, because once your profile is compared, you know what is your chance of getting admissions. So based on that, we give you the list of universities. Now, once we give you the list of universities, you can go to each of the university website, check the program, check the ranking, check the cost, check the location, check the course content, check whatever you want to check, and then decide which 5 or 6 you are going to apply. The question is, why 5 or 6? Okay. Your profile, the student profile was compared with last year profile. The same type of profile will not be applying to the intake, the following intake. So when you are going to apply, when you apply to 5 or 6, you are giving reasonable chance of getting admissions. The law of probability takes place and you will be able to get 1 or 2 admit. So that is why you need to apply to at least 5 universities for this process to work. Even in the last process, the 3 basket, you are applying to 2 or 3 ambitious, 3 or 4 basically neutral ones, and 2 and 3 basically again safe ones. So you would be applying to more than 5 in the last example. Here you can apply to 5. Is good reasonable number. From the 5, we are able to give at least 1 admission guarantee. So this is the process that we follow. So therefore, we are confident of the process because we have been following this process from last 21 years. and it works. Every time it works. And since this work, we are able to get guaranteed admission to our students. Now let's go further. What are the benefits of pre-application? Okay, we need to understand this. It helps students to understand admission chances. Because your profile was compared with last year's student profile, you know basically whether you have a chance or not, you don't have a chance. In India, when I was young in my college days, we used to follow this method. I used to follow this method. When I used to, after 12th, if I have to get admission, I used to find out the last year cutoff of that college so that I know whether with my percentage I'll be able to get admission in that college or not. It's the same method that we follow, but in abroad, since there are 5 to 6 parameters on which admission is based, so you need to email to check whether the profile is good enough to basically for admission purpose. Second is it improves admission chances. Because of this, your admission chances are better. You apply to 5 and you are bound to get at least 1 or 2 admit, probably more than that. But at least 1 or 2 admit, you will be able to get. So improves the admission chances. It helps students to take risk. Now this is important. Now suppose a student wants to apply to ambitious universities. When he has selected 5 from the pre-application list, he can select 5 ambitious universities. Because even if he doesn't get from the 5 ambitious university, he is guaranteed to get admission from the remaining 5 universities. So it helps students to take risk. So it is not necessary that he has to only select 2 or 3 from the ambitious, 3 or 4 from the neutral, and 2 or 3 from the safe. He can apply to more, he can take more risk, and still he'll be able to get guaranteed admissions. It helps students to maximize money spent on application fee. Now the universities may have application fee, which could be $50, $100. Some may not have an application fee. But if there are any application fee, you are paying the application fee so that you get admission. So it helps you to maximize money spent on application fee. And it helps to gain application fee waiver. There are many universities that gives application fee waiver, and this application fee waiver is passed on to the student. Help students in understanding scholarship opportunities. When you basically have more chance of getting admissions, it automatically means you have more chance of even getting scholarship if your profile is good. Why? Suppose you get 2 or 3 admissions. Then I can, even if they don't give me scholarship in the beginning, I have done this. In fact, the testimonial that we saw, Tanvi, she got a $16,000 scholarship per year for all the years. So provided she maintains the GPA. And she was able to do this because she got around 3-4 admits. She got 5 acceptance probably. And she was able to negotiate. I told Tanvi to negotiate with the universities. And she was able to negotiate. And in this way, she was able to get this $16,000 scholarship. So it is possible. So if you get more admits and your profile is reasonably good, Tanvi's profile was good. Okay. She went to Arizona State University. So if your profile is good, then you can get scholarship. And she got scholarship from 3 universities. So it will help you to get admission. And she was negotiating regularly with these 3 universities to see who can give more scholarships. Guaranteed admissions. This is one piece of, it says guarantees admission. Sorry for that. It's guaranteed admission, TEED. So it helps you to get guaranteed admission, which saves a lot of time, effort, and energy. Study abroad is a expensive process because you're spending on application fee of 5 universities, the IELTS test, probably you are going to take SATs, GMAT, GRE, and a lot of other costs, documentation costs that are involved. Again, the amount and energy that you have spent, it's basically you are going to spend almost a year with this process. And when basically it's time to get admission, if you don't get admission, some of the students really feel disappointed. Okay. I have got some students who have lost faith, and then it takes time for me to motivate them to basically give them the confidence that their profile was reasonably good, but the method that they adopted was not proper. And then basically help them with getting admission. So it gives you guaranteed admission, it saves your time, effort, and energy. Now, let's come to the second part, which is about deadlines. Okay. Now, deadlines are very important, very important. As important as basically the pre-application process. So pre-application process helps you to select the universities, deadlines helps you to get admission into that university. Okay. So if you are not going to meet the deadline, then you will not be able to get admissions in the university, because some of the universities are very fussy with the deadlines. Okay. So it is very important to understand these deadlines and to meet these deadlines. When I'm saying deadlines, it's not only applications, you have to also send your test scores, you have to send all the documents before these deadlines. So this deadline is not only application deadline, but including your standardized test scores and your documentation deadlines. Okay. So for this to explain, I have taken few examples. So I have taken US, UK, and Europe. Let me explain with US. Okay. Now, USA, each university is independent, so they may have more than one intake. So some have 3, some have 4, some have more than 4 intakes as well. So I have taken 2 intakes in my example. So suppose August, September, which is a fall intake, all universities offer fall intake because fall is a major intake. Ranked universities may offer only one intake, probably, some of the ranked universities. So it is fall intake. Okay, if they offer second intake, then it is a spring intake. So fall and spring, August, September, and January are 2 major intakes for US. So I've taken these 2 intakes as an example. Now, if you are an undergraduate student, what is undergraduate student? You have completed your 12th and you are applying for your bachelor's, or you should start your process roughly when you are in 11th. Why? Because the deadline, the early deadline is somewhere October, November. So if I'm applying for August, September 2022, my deadlines are October, November 2021. And the early action deadline is again October, November 2021. Now, what is the difference between early decision deadline and early action deadline? Now, this is interesting. Okay. Early decision deadline means you commit, you give a commitment to that university that if I get an admission from you, I will only join you. I will not join any other university, irrespective of how many admissions offer I get. I will only join you. So that commitment is that is called early decision. So it is a binding, it is a commitment that you are giving. Okay. And early action is non-binding. Early action means I am applying to a university so that I can get an admission early. Okay. I can also know about my scholarship chances early. I can also prepare for my documents early. Okay. So early action is non-binding, it's non-committed. You don't have to give any commitment. You can apply to only one university in early decision because you can't give too many decisions, right? So you have given a decision to a university. If that university accepts you, you have to join that university. So university also gives you preference over other students because you have this commitment of yours, because you have committed. So if you are applying, if you want some preference university, you want to really join in that university. For example, I have a student. Okay, he wants to join for Princeton University for a bachelor's in politics. Okay, so he is going to apply for early decision deadline at Princeton University. So when he says early decision, what he says to the Princeton University that I am giving preference to you over all the other universities. So I hope you also give me preference and give me admission. If you give me admission, I will join your university. Okay. So most of the deadline starts 1 year before the intake if you're applying for fall. Most of the good university deadline. And the second intake is spring. Spring not being a major intake, the deadlines could be 6 to 8 months before the start date. Okay. Now let's look at basically the regular deadline, the second deadline. The second deadline could be in the month of January, Feb. Now most of the university we have two deadlines. So the second deadline is in the month of January, Feb for undergraduate. So what happens? Suppose you are applying for a regular deadline and in the early deadline, they offer one student admission to an Indian student. Then you don't have chance in that university because they will only take one Indian students, as I've told in my example. Okay, if there are 15 students, they will only take one Indian student and that one Indian student is given in the early deadline. So you don't have a chance. So by applying early, your scholarship chances are better. And if your profile is good and you can't, if the admission committee cannot give you an early deadline, they may hold your application for the regular deadline. And if they find your profile good, they will accept you in your profile good. So your admission chances is always better. Now for spring, the deadline could be September, October, because spring term starts in the month of January. So if you are going for January 2022, the deadline is September, October. So we are currently in the month of September. And what is final deadline? Some university may have 3 deadlines, or final deadline could be a rolling deadline. Rolling deadline is if seats are available, we will give you admission. If seats are available, we will give you. You can apply, and if seats are available, we will give you admission. So for that, it could be March, April, May for undergraduate, and if it is for spring, it could be October, November. Now for graduate, it is basically again September to 15th October could be the deadline. In some universities, it could be October, November also. So the early deadline could be basically September, October. Okay. And the spring deadline is again 6 to 8 months. The regular deadline would be in November, December, and the spring regular deadline could be in the month of September, October. Now, when I'm saying September, October, you have to understand spring is January intake and fall is August, September intake. And the final deadline could, which would be the rolling deadline, could be January, March. So if you want to apply early, you need to apply for the early deadline. Early deadlines are also the scholarship deadlines, and which will help you to get admission, and which will also improve your chance of getting scholarship. So if you want some financial, help, then you should apply at an early deadline, provided you have a good profile. Okay. Now, what about UK? Now, UK basically follows the UCAS system for an undergraduate. What is UCAS? UCAS is a common application form. So you have to apply through a common application form. You can't apply directly to the universities. So in that, you can only apply to 5 universities. And if you're applying to Oxford, Cambridge, or for medicine, veterinary, medicine science, dentistry, the deadline for September, October 2022 is 15th October 2021. So before that, so if I'm saying, okay, let me give you an example. Suppose the deadline is 15th October. I apply on 15th of October. Will my admission application be considered for the Oxford University even if my profile is good? Probably not. Why? It's not just application. It's your application, your test scores, your documentation, everything has to send before the deadline. So you should ideally start 1 month before the deadline, so that in case anything is pending, you have time to rework on the documentation and submit it, so that you are safe. So that you can apply to the best university and get your admissions. For regular deadline, it is mostly if you're not applying for the Oxford, Cambridge or this, then basically the deadline is 26th of January around. Okay, that's the deadline. And in case you don't get basically admission by, if you're not able to apply by 26th of January, then you can apply by 30th June. Okay, so 30th June is the last deadline. And after that, if you are applying, then basically it is that rolling deadline, whereby if the seats are available, they will give it to you. If seats are not available, then you will not get admission. So applying early, even in UK, helps. For graduate also, if you're applying for the September, October intake, you should send your applications by December, Jan. If your regular deadline could be around Feb, March, and your final or rolling deadline could be around April or May. Now, this is for Europe. I got it from the internet, so I just thought basically this could be good. Rather than I doing the research, I just copy pasted this. So I have not verified all the details of this, but I found it reasonably good to be followed. So if you are applying for Europe, so because there are so many countries, so I wanted to just give an example on this Europe itself, where you can travel to 26, 27 countries. For each of these, the deadlines could be different. For Austria, it's June to September. It varies by university. Belgium, it is around 1st of June for EU NAPE students. So we are not European Union students, we are non-European Union students. So for us, it is February, March. For Czech Republic, it's usually February to April for most universities. For Denmark, it's around 15th of March for bachelor's, and for master's degree, it varies from university to university. So these deadlines shows you that every country has a special deadline. You can't take it as general, irrespective of where you are applying. You need to check the university for the deadline, and deadlines are important. If you miss the deadline, then probably you will miss that university. So these are a few more deadlines basically that you have. I'm not going to go through each of them. In case you want it, then you know that this recording will be available on the YouTube, so you can check the deadlines there, and you are good to go abroad, I guess. Thank you very much. And in another 1 minute, we will start the University Cumberland College's presentation.